All right, guys, welcome in. We are going to get right into this. We got to talk about this. I am so glad that independent journalist Nick Shirley started exposing all this. I mean, all this fraud in Minnesota. I mean, these programs essentially were designed to help low-income families. They were designed to help starving kids, people in need, right? Everybody can get behind that. Taxpayers don't mind helping kids in need, helping poor people. But what happened was all this fraud started coming to light because these agencies, these daycares, these Somali-run programs that were claiming to feed starving kids, thousands of starving kids daily. Well, people started showing up to these businesses, and guess what they found? Empty parking lots, abandoned buildings. They had signs that were not spelled correctly, and then they go in and it's empty. So people started asking more questions, and then now that's when they started exposing all the fraud. So you have to ask yourself, how did the Somalians get all these people, all these elected officials to do their bidding? Make no mistake about this, ladies and gentlemen. The Somalians control Minnesota. It's not only from the most powerful person in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, who represents Minnesota. Her flocky, Jacob Frey, the Minneapolis mayor, the governor, Tim Walz, the lieutenant governor, they all do the bidding of the Somalians. Now, you would think that if you are in charge of this state and you see all this fraud, you see all these taxpayers that, by the way, elected you into office, you would sit there and hold some type of accountability and say, man, you know what? This has to stop. We have to hold these criminals responsible. But guess what? They can't do that because they have now pledged their allegiance to Somalia in order to secure the elections moving forward. Now, you look at Jacob Frey. Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, who, by the way, is probably one of the most weakest politicians, period, has given his almost like his backside to these people, because what has happened is Jacob Frey, by the way, is the same person who was crying over the George Floyd casket. When George Floyd was passed, he was crying over the George Floyd casket. Now, coincidence that there was cameras around, but let's just see, because we know that George Floyd, the same guy who put a gun to a pregnant woman's belly, the same guy who was in and out of prison, the same guy that was a habitual drug user, this is a guy that he was crying over. But now the Somalians are coming over, and now they have, put Jacob Frey in positions to become the mayor. And now what's he doing? What is Jacob Frey doing? Well, let me tell you, if you don't think the Somalis run Minneapolis and Minnesota, let's just see what Jacob Frey is doing now. During all this fraud, all this investigation, what is Jacob Frey doing, the mayor of Minneapolis? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The mayor of Minneapolis is dancing with all the Somalians right now during investigations of fraud. You would think, wow, if I'm a mayor and this is happening in my city, in my state, the last thing I'm doing is dancing with the people that are accused of all this fraud. But you know what? That's just a Democratic position. Let's see what Lieutenant Governor has to say. The second person in charge, let's just say Tim Walz were to resign or whatever, the second person in charge of one of the most powerful people in Minnesota. Let's see what she has to say about the Somali fraud. Surely she's going to stand up for the American taxpayers and condemn these people and say, how dare they steal from us? Surely she's going to have to say that, right?
My name's Peggy Flanagan. I am the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, and I'm really honored and humbled to be here with all of you today. I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. And when I think of being part of Minnesota, and
That's right, guys. The lieutenant governor is now wearing hijab. By the way, she's Catholic. Is now wearing hijab with Somalians, saying how much Somalians make Minnesota great, how amazing they are. Isn't this so strange that now not only the governor, not only the mayor of Minneapolis, but now the lieutenant governor is wearing their clothes, dancing to their music, eating their food? What is going on right now? Now, surely the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, he has to take accountability. He has to condemn these people. Or is he going to blame white supremacy? No, there's no way Tim Walz is going to blame white supremacy for it. There's no way. I have faith right now that Tim Walz is actually not going to blame white supremacy. Let's just see what Tim Walz has to say. Hold on.
Communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy when you hear the Vice President of the United States talk about now white people won't have to apologize for being white. That's never happened once in my whole damn life.
Wow. Okay, hold on. So we have the governor blaming white supremacy for this fraud, which, by the way, white people weren't involved anyway, besides knowing about the corruption of this, Jacob Frey, Tim Walz. But now it's a white supremacy thing. Now that Nick Shirley is exposing all this stuff, it's now white supremacy. And actually, Tim, I want to challenge you on something real quick. You said that white people don't apologize. White people don't feel sorry. Well, what about Kentucky State Rep? What's her name? Sarah Stalker. What about Kentucky State Rep Sarah Stalker? What does she have to say about being white? How does she feel about being white?
Honest, I don't feel good about being white every day for a lot of reasons. Because it's a point of privilege that I get to move through the world in a way that so many of my other colleagues and friends and family members of the community don't get the privilege to do.
Gotcha. So now we are apologizing for being white. But Tim Walz just said that doesn't happen. When J.D. Vance literally says that people are apologizing for being white, which, by the way, nobody should apologize for being white, Tim Walz said, what is he talking about? That doesn't happen. But yet you have a sitting elected official in Kentucky saying that she feels bad about being white because she's arguing about DEI. Now, this is what's going on. It's sad right now, but let's get to the story of Nick Shirley and all the great work that Nick Shirley is doing, because I got to say, he's got to be protected right now. He exposed billions and billions of dollars of fraud, and the FBI, after his investigation, actually came down to Minnesota. So let's just start taking a look at Nick Shirley's groundbreaking investigation.
Where the money's going. What do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside this building. Potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history is taking place in Minnesota, as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab, and others enriched themselves all at the US taxpayers' expense. And in this video we will break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked. How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these child care centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation, contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided.
Now, guys, how is any of this possible? We're going to actually get more into this story and actually see when Nick and Dave actually start going to these businesses, and you'll see them confront some of these Somali people and close the door on them and start doing stuff like that. But this stuff right now, somebody's got to be held accountable. Tim Walz has to resign. me personally, I would love for Ilhan Omar to be deported, but that's never going to happen. The taxpayers of Minnesota are the actual victims of this story. Okay. What are they going to do? Are they going to get reimbursed? Or what is going to happen right now? You're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars. And what do the Democrats do? Do you hear about it on ABC? Do you hear about it on NBC? Do you hear about it on CNN or MSNBC? No. All you hear about is Epstein. Why? Because the Democrats want to control the media and make sure you aren't paying attention to the fraud that's going on. So let's get more into the story and see what Nick has to do.
Right here, these buildings should be operating as they're receiving literally millions of dollars. I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door. Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare. Why? Can I speak to a manager? Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare. And after a few questions, the lady went silent. Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Childcare.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which has its license for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids, and all the facilities are the same way, all of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I try to find a spot for my son Joey, and they would not open the door. I want to put my son Joey in daycare. Cuz I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Imagine going to a daycare, a guy saying, hey, I want to put my child in daycare, and they say, why? Red flag right there.
Yes.
Is this your daycare center?
No, I work there. What's happened?
I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
I was, yeah. What's happened?
Where are the kids?
Yeah?
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They got paid $1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. It says they have a capacity for 74 children.
When?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website. You work here and you...
You know what's crazy about this fraud? This guy has no idea what he's being asked. No idea. He's probably in on this fraud, getting all these millions of dollars and not even knowing what the fraud cover-up is supposed to be. This is the first time this guy's hearing about this cover-up.
don't know?
I don't know. I was there before. I don't know what's going on.
Were there any kids when you worked here?
He's there. Kids there.
How many?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You worked here. Okay, well, then you're not of any help.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Who's your son, Joey?
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
No! You're a liar. I'm the owner.
Do you put your kid here in this daycare?
No.
There is one child in there. Yeah, I'd like to know if this is a legit business.
Me, I'm scared of you too. How come I explain everything?
You're scared of me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of your curry.
Because of my color. You said you're scared of me because of my color. Does that make you a racist?
Yeah, no.
But
no.
You said you're scared of me because of my color.
I'm not saying you're racist.
You said you're scared of me because of my color. That makes you a racist. So right now, they're all getting mad because he's showing the paperwork of this business being registered as a business. 74 children, no children. We saw one child when the lady opened up the door. So now they're all getting mad.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Ask the owner and the kids.
Well, then why are you talking for the owner if you're telling me to talk to the owner?
I'm sorry. I'm not understand what you're talking about.
Do you have a child here?
No.
I hope the FBI comes down there and shuts down every illegitimate business tomorrow. Actually, today. I don't know what's going on. And that's why I'm so glad that Nick came out, because, you know, this 23-year-old kid is doing more journalistic work than ABC, NBC, and MSNBC. So he is as American hero right now, exposing all this, getting boots on the ground and taking people that are actually exposing this fraud. This guy named Dave, who's been doing it for years. Now we're kind of seeing these people don't even speak any English, and we're giving them millions and millions of dollars. What if you're the governor, Tim Walz? What do you say to the taxpayers? I mean, it's just absolutely terrible that they have to deal with this.
Does anybody?
No.
Where are the 74 kids? Did you lose them? Did you lose these kids? Do I need to call someone? Do I need to issue an Amber Alert for missing children? Are these children missing? It's not my business that children are missing. 74 infants and toddlers, preschool.
The proof's right there. There's no children anywhere.
It's from the state of Minnesota right here.
Look how angry and violent these people are. It's just insane. So Nick is going to go to the next business because obviously these people aren't going to answer any of these questions because they don't even speak any English. So Nick is going to go to the next location of fraud and let's see how that journey goes.
Vehicle right now. From this daycare center, we headed over to the infamous Quality Learning Center, which actually spells Quality Leering Center on the outside of their sign. That's how blatant this fraud is here at this daycare.
Don't open up!
So this is Quality Leering Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Now, they go to this location and you're going to see this woman who is a terrible woman think that these guys are ICE and tell these people to not open up. I mean, this girl is literally the worst kind of human when you're trying to expose fraud, when you're trying to expose corruption, and you have this random person try to block you from finding all this stuff, which, by the way, everybody deserves to know this information, but you have this random person who has no life, interfering with the process.
Don't open up!
They said they spelt learning wrong.
Don't open up!
How do you have ICE here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up!
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up! We have ICE!
And what do you think about this place being licensed for 99 children
Don't open up!
and getting $4 million
Don't
over
open
the
up! It's ICE!
$4 million in the last 2 years?
Go away!
What do you think about that? Are you in
Go
favor?
away!
Are you in favor of that?
Go away!
You know where
You're not welcome here.
Are you-
Shame.
Look at that, trying to expose corruption, and this worst kind of human being says, "Go away. We don't want you here." That insane.
on you.
Are you in favor of $1.9 million going illegally, fraudulently to this business that has Quality Learning Center but can't even spell learning right on the door?
Don't open up!
Ma'am, we are not ICE.
I don't care who you are, you don't belong here.
I belong here just like you belong here.
Don't open up! It's ICE!
You do realize that there's supposed to be 99 children at here at this building, but there's no one here. This is a child daycare center.
Says 99 children. Paid $1.9 million this year in CCAP funding. Do you know where the children are? Were they kidnapped? They run away? Where are the children? This is state of Minnesota. Right here.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley, ma'am.
And who are you with?
Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley on YouTube.
Yeah, so who are you with here?
Oh, he's just been doing some research investigating the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm with Nick Shirley.
This lady, she's calling us ICE. We're just trying to put law and order back in the streets of the United States. Get rid of all the fraud. Have you ever seen children at that daycare center right there?
Where?
Yeah, it's right there. It says the child, you've never seen daycare.
I haven't seen anybody in here.
We're gonna educate you on something. So what do you think about this daycare center? They spelt learning wrong. They've received over $1.9 million this year alone, and they're supposed to have 99 children here.
I don't see it.
99 children.
Have you ever seen any?
So, I mean, we're going to do this last video real quick, and they go to another location that's obviously, has a ton of fraud. But now they're actually going to see in this building so many different businesses in one building, which doesn't make sense because if you're a business, why would you have competing businesses in the same location? So that doesn't really make sense too. But again, Tim Walz has to be held accountable. And I don't think that he's going to last his term. I think that he's going to have too much political pressure on him to resign from this. This is just insane that taxpayers are on the hook for all this stuff. And they're not going to get their money back. Unfortunately, taxpayers aren't going to get their money back in Minnesota. They're screwed. By the way, Minnesota isn't a rich state. The people in Minnesota aren't that rich. So the money that they could have used, kept in their pockets, for groceries or their kids' bills or whatever, kids' schooling, education that they could have saved. Now all the taxpayers' dollars are going to Somalia and some of these terrorist organizations in Somalia. This is insane. So the governor has to be held on the hook for this.
To go on a building similar to the one we are about to enter. Inside of this building, there were 14 of nearly the exact same businesses offering the exact same services. Right here, you have a list of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here. We want healthcare.
No, it's okay.
Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here.
No.
Why can't I get healthcare here?
No, wait.
Warning, you are under video surveillance. No trespassing, security, armed. This is the strangest place I've ever been to get healthcare. Just a bunch of different places. Healthcare here, healthcare right here. Another healthcare company right here. There are 3 healthcare companies inside of this building right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands Home Care LLC, another healthcare company. Present Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk to about getting the best healthcare?
I don't know.
No?
Sorry.
All right. We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think's been funneled through this building?
Every year, I would say 50 to 60 million at least.
And finally, we were accepted into one of the daycare centers and they actually took down our information to give us a rate. However, when we left, we were then met with the police.
We received a complaint that gentlemen matching your description were in this building harassing the individuals who stay here.
Oh, we're checking out the rates for healthcare. Because there's 14 healthcare companies inside this building, so.
Okay.
Well, that's not what he said. He said there's 14 companies here, and he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers, everyone here is fraudulent.
Okay. So
He's here with some kind of like propaganda.
No, we're just checking.
No, this is a.
You see what she just said? She's trying to cover up the fraud by saying it's propaganda. He literally walked in every single building, every single office, and asked for healthcare, and they all refused him. So here she is lying and saying, well, no, he's just assuming because they're Somali in control that it's fraud. No, he literally walked into each office and asked, hey, can I get a rate for health insurance? And none of them helped him. So of course it's fraud.
Area that we're allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance. Is there any other reason that you guys are here?
Well, we were checking rates.
No, he's not.
We were checking rates. We asked for rates.
No, you're not.
Okay. I'm gonna have, if you guys are all good, we're gonna step outside and we can continue this conversation.
All right, let's leave. So, all right, we're getting escorted out right now. The police have arrived. We were checking out the rates, seeing what was happening inside this building. No one would really speak with us. We did go inside the one daycare center, and she actually did give us rates for childcare. Much respect to that lady. What's the problem, officer?
Well, so again, we've been getting reports from multiple individuals that you guys were harassing individuals who work here. At the end of the day, this is private property, and it's one that people are allowed to ask you to leave, and it's also one the Minneapolis Police Department is allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance at this address.
Yeah.
So
as we got escorted out of this building, the Somalis filmed us as we left, and we headed over to the next building that had 22 of the same home health care providers operating from inside of the building.
So Nick is obviously an American hero right now. I think that he did a great job exposing all this, and I 100% think the FBI is going to be coming down there if they're not already. But the problem is right now that the elected officials who allow this stuff to happen, of course, are not going to take any responsibility because they'd be kicked out of office. So what they're going to do, they're going to do exactly what Tim Walz just did. Blame white people, blame white supremacy, blame, oh, they're putting the cameras on us because they're racist, and trying to spin the argument like they always do, instead of saying, hey, taxpayers, we messed up. The government wasn't doing any oversight like they should have been. We allowed all this fraud to happen under our watch. We are now going to make sure that every single person responsible is held accountable. But guess what? They can't do that because they have now been pledging allegiance to Somalia, and Somalia votes for them. So they can't turn their back on Somalians because Somalians are going to make sure that they secure their elections every single election cycle. So unfortunately right now, it's the taxpayers who are the victims. They need justice. Whether it's money back or whether it's politicians being let go, kicked out of office. But I don't see Tim Walz. Obviously, he's not going to go to prison. You're just the people over in Minnesota are just going to protect him too much. He's not going to go to prison, not going to go to jail. But I think he's going to get a lot of political pressure to resign, step down. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that when you do have a new election, I think you're probably going to have another Republican candidate run that, because now people are seeing that this is what happens when you have a Democratic mayor and a Democratic governor and a Democratic lieutenant governor. Now they're going to say, wow, if a Republican can step up and make sure these people are not committing any fraud, all these illegal immigrants that the taxpayers are paying for out of our state, out of our country, and more money goes into my pocket, that's what I want. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I know he was in the White House and J.D. Vance said that Nick Shirley did a great job, and Cass Patel and all these people are congratulating Nick Shirley. So I, commend that guy for doing all that work. I think he did a great job exposing all this. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks to a month. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out of here.